Hi, my name's Leighton Jin. I'm the Director of Development for the American Documentary and Animation Film Festival. We completed our 14th year, and one of the films that we had was probably what I consider the best title of all the films that we had, over 240 films. Uh, a bird hit my window, and now I'm a lesbian, correct?
Yeah.
So I'm here with the two filmmakers, AJ Dubler and Carmela Murphy. I hope I didn't mispronounce anyone's names. I'm a print guy who doesn't always talk. But can you guys talk to me about, first of all, how you guys came up with this concept of this animation?
Yeah, for sure. So my name is AJ. I'm Carmela. And yeah, we started working on this while we were still in school. We met in a stop motion class, and then Carmela had this script idea and presented it to me, and we decided to make it together. So then we finished the script together, built everything. Carmela did a lot of the sets, and I did a lot of the animation. And it was just a really fun process. We shared like creative decision. We're both the director and the writers.
Yeah, it was like Adria was saying, it was our thesis film for the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. And I think we were both gonna do individual films at first. And I think there was this just kind of magical moment where we were like, we should just do this together. And we are like, oh, we should just do this together. And it just was totally the click. And I think we just both knew in our guts that this was the right decision. And yeah, it was fabulous.
And how did you come up with the plot and the concept of the movie?
Yeah, so I started with the kind of concept, the vague concept. Um, I knew I wanted it to be queer. I knew I wanted it to be some type of funeral. At that time, I was sort of processing like decentering men and like how the patriarchy kind of like played into my life and like impacted me and impacted my friends. And so I think where a lot of the inspiration came from is a real bird fact. So in real life, when a bird hits a window during the daytime, it's generally a male bird seeing his reflection and thinking it's a rival for his territory or his woman. And so the bird flies into the window to kill the other bird, resulting in his death. And so for us, it was like lesbianism or like female queerness is like this own space that is not really touched by the male gaze and is something that is kind of outside of like the patriarchy touches so many things, and I'm sure it touches lesbianism as well, but it does feel like its own entity, like its own little rebellion. And so it's like the death of the bird is mourning a life you thought you would live, like anger at the way the world has like put you in this position. Yeah, and kind of a rebirth almost in a way, or a letting go. So that's sort of where we were working from. And then the process involved lots of conversations with each other about our own like identities and processes and experiences. And yeah, so from that kind of base, we made a bird hit my window and now I'm a lesbian.
I love the layers of it. Um, can you go a little bit more details about the chemistry you two felt? Because obviously you were talking about doing individually your thesis, and then when you came together to work with each other, can you talk about the evolution of your partnership, and then kind of what you guys were had in common, but also the different things you brought into the project that enriched it.
Yeah, for sure. So we have a lot of like kind of opposite talents and like opposite interests, but like kind of this shared like passion, I think. I think like one thing I noticed immediately about Carmela is Carmela was in the studio like as many hours as she could, like late into the night, like leaving at like 3 a.m. in our stop motion class. And I was like, wow, they're making great stuff. And then I heard them talking about their idea. We were all having like a little group of our friends pitching each other our films. And I just like had the like I saw the vision, and then I we have just like these opposite skills. So like, sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
I think AJ's really like AJ's an animator in their soul and in their like they have magic in their hands, you know. I like to animate, but I definitely it's not my passion. I'm really a lot more into like building the sets and making the puppets and the lighting design. So that was where I was mostly AJ was mostly with like the animation. They did the animatic beforehand. Um, we also both helped each other a lot. We both wrote it together. We both
Mhm.
directed and edited. But all of the things that I kind of was like, oh, I don't really want to do, AJ liked to do. And the things that they didn't really like to do, I was more excited about. And, you know, we didn't really know each other too long before we started it. Maybe we were friends for like 4 or 5 months before we made this decision. Even the first couple times we hung out, we used to go grocery shopping together. And I think it was our first time hanging out, like maybe for our first or second time hanging out one on one. And we were like, we should start an animation studio together. And we were like, yeah, like we did not know each other. And we just kind of had this instant, like creative professional bond. Um, yeah, and obviously, like it's very difficult to make something with somebody. This was both of our first times doing a collaborative project, and so we had our differences. But I think it was really good. We had to both let go of ego in a lot of way of like, no, you're right. My idea is worse than your idea. We should go with that. And just trusting each other. Like I think we both really respect each other as artists and creatives. So there's never a point of like, oh no. So yeah, it was tough, but I think we communicated really well throughout it, and we're still very good friends today. So we survived.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it felt just very natural, and we both like we have like we learned to communicate with each other really well, and then we just kind of grew it from there.
And I think
And
both of us,
so,
oh yeah, sorry.
oh, no, 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 go ahead. I,
I was just gonna say, I think for both of us, we realized like working together, we could make something amazing or make something that like neither of us could do on our own. And so I really think without each other, I don't know where we would be. Yeah, totally a collaborative process.
how much of this process was a fun process? 'Cause obviously with the title and, I know there's a lot of depth to it, but just by the title, it just sounds like a fun, quirky film. But uh, how much of it was that, and how much was it expression, the need to express and tell this story, and just share it with people through this art?
Yeah, so it the process was like really fun, and we wanted to make like a really fun film. But I think from day one of us working together, we had kind of like these two things that we wanted to happen, and we wanted it to be one like really dramatic and like kind of vulnerable and meaningful, but two really funny and like lighthearted at the same time. And then that was kind of like it started at the script. I think the original drafts were like a little bit more like leaning towards the dramatic side. And then when I came on, I was like, it has to have jokes. We have to make it funny. So then that's like one of the main themes that we started trying to work through as we were writing it. And I started out kind of being like the guy who wanted to add like more jokes, and Carmela was the guy who wanted to make it more like dramatic. And then kind of by the end of it, we almost switched where I think some of the most dramatic lines I ended up writing, and some of the funniest lines Carmela ended up writing.
Sounds
Yeah,
like a
I think
really a kind of a beautiful relationship, beautiful working relationship. Now, Carmela, unfortunately, we missed you in Palm Springs, but
I missed,
AJ, I know, hopefully you'll come by someday. But
I
AJ, can you talk about your experiences? Because when I met you, I got a chance to take a picture with you and your dolls, and it was kind of funny because you took the picture with another filmmaker, and I thought maybe it was Carmela, but it was a different filmmaker when he had the dolls because you know it looked a little
will.
bit like the other filmmaker. But aside
Yeah.
from that, can you talk about your experiences in Palm Springs and what you learned from the experience in being at AmDocs?
Yeah, oh my God. I had such a great time at Palm Springs. I got to meet so many new people. The person who I was taking a picture with was Issa. She made Birth Controlled. And I've seen her film in like a couple of the other festivals that we've been in, and this was the first time I got to meet her in person, and she was just like so amazing to talk to. It's great meeting like a lot of animators. I think that's one thing I haven't gotten at a lot of other festivals is just like I'm looking and looking for all the animators at the festivals, but they're kind of hard to find. But at AmDocs, there were just like it was 50-50, like animators and documentaries. So it was so nice like networking with all these animators. And then on top of that, like I don't make documentaries at all. I have no idea what it was like, but then I was making friends with all of these like documentary guys who have like this completely different experience filmmaking. They're almost opposites. And it was nice like meeting with them too because it kind of really like I don't know, it was really enriching. It gave me like a different perspective on filmmaking. It was really interesting to hear what their experience was like, doing something drastically different from what I was doing, but seeing all of our work together in the same program, and being blown away by the different films that people were making. And then loved seeing all the movies. I saw as many movies as I could. And then just being in the desert and like being with all these filmmakers. And I came from Chicago, so it was still really cold. And it was just so nice to be in the sun and go to all like the AmDocs parties. I loved it so much. We're gonna make a film just so we can come back to AmDocs.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
We need to bring you out here next time, okay, Carmela?
Of course.
Um, uh, Talk to me about how important, because there's a certain theme to your film that was very important to get out there, including the fun and the comedy in there. Can you talk to me about this period in time, how why it's important for to share your stories? Because obviously there's a lot of things going on in this country politically, and can you talk to me from your perspective why it's important to have art and express these opinions in this time?
Yeah, I think obviously this is a very scary time for queer people, for trans people. Um, and as filmmakers, this is our fight in a way. This is how we express things and make people feel seen and like build empathy. Um, I think the title is an important part of our film in the way that it's meant to be humorous, right? Like it's a funny title. People don't really know how to react when we say this. Um, but it's also rooted in vulnerability and intentionality. Like lesbian is a really scary word for a lot of people, a lot of women and queer people. Um, adopting this word. It's a word that's been very over-sexualized in our society and carries a lot of negative connotations. Um, Before this film, AJ and I both were kind of identifying as like gay or queer. And I think through the process of this film, like we started being like, no, I'm a lesbian, adopting that word. Um, and it's scary, I was nervous. Like I was kind of pushing against the title for a while. AJ came up with the title. Um, and at first it was kind of a joke, like, okay, we'll never actually do that. But it was the same, it was a gut feeling of like, okay, that's the title of our film. And I was scared, like I didn't want to tell my parents the title. I was nervous telling like my coworkers or some friends. Like it was something that was very uncomfortable because it's rooted in that vulnerability. Um, so even if nobody watches our film, like having a film that's called A Bird Hit My Window and Now I'm a Lesbian in the festival circuit, like being seen, being talked about, being in bigger festivals or festivals like AmDocs where it's not necessarily just a queer festival, I think is very important and powerful and makes people think or feel, like that make you uncomfortable? How does it make you feel? What does it make you want to talk about? So yeah, for us, it's rooted in intentionality, vulnerability, and inclusivity. Is that so how we view lesbianism?
And yeah, and then we've also just had like such a wide range of like audiences who have seen it and resonated with the film. I think making a film like this is like our primary audience is going to be like other lesbians. It's a film for lesbians, generally, but it's for everybody to watch. So it's been really amazing to see. There've been like a couple people who have seen our film and then told us later that it was like one of the big things that made them consider starting to identify as a lesbian for themselves. So that's been like a really important thing for us. It's been like really amazing to hear about people's stories that way. But then kind of on the other end of it, from people who aren't lesbians and people who are like maybe a little bit more conservative. I come from a little bit of a more conservative family, and everybody in my family has been forced to watch my film at least once. And they kind of had like a little bit of an unexpected reaction to it. I didn't really know what to expect, but it was like some of the most conservative members of my family coming up to me being like, I was really touched by that. That really moved me. Like my cousin had tears in his eyes. Which was I was not expecting that at all, but it's just like it's been good to just like have a film with the word lesbian in it and then to make it entertaining for people to watch and dramatic and funny.
Now,
Yeah, a lot of
go ahead, Carmela. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, like, a big theme of our film is our film kind of takes place after the main protagonist has come out, but has not started using the word lesbian or like fully accepted it. And I think that's the case for a lot of women in particular. Like there's like male desire as a social currency almost as something that is so like even when you're little, the girl with the most attention from boys is the most popular, even when you're like 5 or 6 years old. And so it's something that's so instilled in women, this like almost addiction for male desire. And I think it puts women in lots of situations where maybe they don't want to be, or trying to make things work when they don't, maybe deep down they know it's not going to work. Yeah, and like AJ was saying, we've had women who have watched our film and be like, you know what? Like this really clicked with me. Like I wouldn't have come to this conclusion without watching this film. And so those are like the things that really are special to us. But obviously, anyone going through a change in this world, and yeah, like AJ was saying, showing people who are more conservative or people who just haven't been exposed to queerness, like a lot of people who are homophobic or kind of in that genre don't know a lot of gay people, don't know a lot of trans people, don't know any trans people, you know? And so yeah, our film is to create empathy and conversation.
Earlier, I'm going to follow up on something you said earlier. You said that you would identify as queer or gay, but not lesbian. Can you explain that a little bit more for someone like me? I wasn't aware that there was these levels of identifying. Can you go into a little bit more detail about that? Because that's just something I'm just starting to become aware of right now, just speaking to you.
Yeah, I think like for us there's like plenty of labels to choose from under like the LGBTQ group. I think for me and Carmela personally, the word lesbian specifically was just like a little bit scary. For a lot of people I know, it's easier to just say like I'm gay or I'm queer. It's like kind of like a little bit more broad. Everybody I know who is like calls himself a lesbian has had to make that decision like consciously. Like first you realize you're gay, you come out. When you come out, you can call yourself whatever you want. And then I almost feel like there's like this second version of like coming out where you realize that like there's a lot of like misogyny that makes you afraid of the word lesbian, and then like you kind of have to come to terms with that, say like, no, the word lesbian is for lesbians. Like, I don't care what the connotations are, like I'm a lesbian. And then that yeah, it's just kind of like a powerful experience.
I think it's something that feels very permanent as well. It's kind of a intense word. Like if I was like, I'm queer, people, that can mean a lot of different things. But lesbian is very clear, and it's something that has lots of associations in people's minds. Like, the weird lesbian. Like, I've had people like, I don't want to be the weird lesbian, or like, it's a porn genre. Like, that's a big part of it, is that it's very over sexualized by men. Like, I've had men try and take pictures of me if I'm out with a girl, or say weird comments, or like if I like am with a girl, people will catcall both of us and make very rude comments often, like very over sexual comments. So it's something that's just scary. I think we're in this time of the world, which is really good that you don't have to label yourself necessarily. You can just exist. But I think for a lot of like gay and lesbian people, it's not necessarily a choice. It's not necessarily so fluid. Like I wouldn't have chosen to be a lesbian at first, you know? That was something I was really pushing against. And it took a while for me to, like AJ was saying, there was all these different steps. Like coming out as bi felt really fun and exciting and opened all these doors. Coming out as a lesbian, you're shutting doors, in a lot of ways. You're opening other doors, but like you're closing a part of your life. You're closing these expectations that people have for you. Your family or people in your life are still expecting you to be with the man, generally, if you come out as queer or bi but lesbian, it really forces people to come to terms with it. And so for me, yeah, I was in a box, being like, I'm not in a box, I'm not in a box. But as soon as I accepted my metaphorical lesbian box, like the walls came down and the world opened up, and it's scary. Like a big part of our film is the change that comes with accepting that you're a lesbian. Um, like, because a lot of people are scared. Like, is this going to change my friendships, my relationships, how I move through life, how my family views me? And a lot of times the answer is yes. Like, everything does change. And that's really scary and also beautiful and wonderful and magical and terrifying. Um, so right now, like my friendships are so much more intentional. My relationships are more intentional. Because of this film, I've had really fabulous conversations with my family, and I think we've connected a lot more of explaining how this comes out through my art. And so yeah, I think in this time, going back to your original question, like it's a scary time to be gay. It's a scary time to be queer. It's a scary time to be lesbian. It's always been a scary time, you know? And so we're really proud, and it also took a lot of processing and bravery to make this film. And we're excited that it's out there and people are resonating with it.
Well, I applaud you for making this film. I'm sorry I haven't seen it yet, but I think I was promised a screener, so I'm going to make sure I definitely check it out. And I definitely wanted to check it out. The minute I saw the title, I was like, it was like, oh, that's one I want to see just based on the title. So I think I think that's very interesting. I live in Palm Springs, which is very LGBTQ friendly, but it's also interesting. There's different dynamics within that community. So I think today I learned quite a bit. I'm looking forward to learning some more from just watching the film, and I'm sure I'll speak to you guys some more as you submit more films to us. Is there something I might have missed or anything you want to add before we go?
I don't know. I think that's pretty good. AJ, you have any ideas or
Um, I think I think we covered a lot of stuff, a lot of good
we're
stuff.
working on a new project. Um,
Oh,
yeah, so that's exciting. So hopefully we'll be at AmDocs again, exploring, yeah.
and
So
how long did it take for you guys to make this film?
Um, Well, Carmela had started a lot of work like writing and doing some like design for it before we met and like chose to work on it. But from the time that we started working on it to the time we finished, it was about a year and a half. We finished it for like our school graduation thesis program, and then we worked on it for a few more months after that, and then started our festival run.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'd say like a year and a half of being in the studio till like at least midnight every
Year and a half
day.
of
A lot of
nonstop work.
a mini fridge and a bed in our studio. The school did not like it when they found out. They took our
Unsanctioned by the school.
so it was a lot of hours crammed into that year and a half. But
Well,
it was wonderful.
well, we look forward to seeing your next work and your careers, watching it unfold. I appreciate you guys both taking the time to speaking with me today, and it's very enlightening for me. I really appreciate it.
Of
Yeah,
course. Well,
thank
thank
you.
you.
And
Yeah.
before we go, I just got to say the American Documentary and Animation Festival, we're already taking submissions for next year. And we take those submissions until the end of the year. So if you want to look up some information, just go to www.amdocsfilmfest.com and then you can find some information. And we already have our dates for next year's festival. It's March 25th to 29th, 2026, at the same place, the beautiful Palm Springs Cultural Center. AJ, Carmela, thank you so much for speaking with me. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to seeing more from your careers.
Well, thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much.
I really appreciate it.